You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The time is now 6:30 p.m. I am Chairperson Matthew Rivard, and I hereby call the Templeton Advisory Committee to order on this Thursday, the 28th of October, 2021. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Templeton Advisory Committee business meetings are being broadcast live on TCTV Channel 8 and the TCTV YouTube channel. Any comments made to the YouTube channel will be considered part of the public record and included with the meeting minutes, and a response will be made to these comments as soon as possible. The agenda and meeting materials for this business meeting were posted to www.mytowngovernment.org/01468 no later than 48 hours prior to the scheduled meeting in accordance with Commonwealth of Massachusetts open meeting laws. The chairperson reserves the right to add items to, remove items from, and or change the order of the agenda. However, the agenda is posted in advance to give the committee and the public time to review the agenda items and to ensure the meeting runs within an allotted time frame. Having disposed with that comment, we go to agenda item 3A, where we're going to start with review and approval of the meeting minutes. Agenda item 3A, the minutes from October 7th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes as into the record.
So moved.
I have a motion to accept them into the record. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Spring and a second by Ms. Bartolomeo to accept the minutes from October 7th, 2021 into the record. Is there any discussion on the minutes of October 7th?
Permission to speak, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Graves, go ahead, please.
So when I sent this out, there were a few typographical things that
Okay.
I was looking at. The only well, there's a few adjustments. Just there was an extra how-to on 4B3.
Extra.
How, or is it there is a how or how-to? There's an extra how or how-to in there.
Okay.
I just changed he's to he has on 4B3 as well. I changed fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 2023. And then I put in, I changed R to remained on item 6A1, just to make that more clear. I saw that after I sent it out and I caught it before I printed it. So I just wanted to.
Good job.
Mr. Spring, do you accept those amendments?
Which section are you talking?
He actually spoke of a couple of sections. It was Mr. Graves, go through them again real quick.
It was so 4B3 has an extra how.
4B3.
I think it was
4B3
Okay.
has an extra how in it, I guess.
I changed an E and a he's into a he has. I changed fiscal year 23 on item 6A2 to fiscal year 2023.
Yeah.
And then on item 6A1 and R to a remain.
Are you talking about under B,
Yes,
number 2? It's the end of town meeting in 22 that they would end up going to, not 23.
No, I think it was, he said it was in 6, it was that it was in 4B3.
no,
Which is-
6A2.
Oh, he's on the 6A2.
Oh, I'm looking here.
He wasn't in 6, he wasn't in 4B2, he was in 4B3 to get it. There was an extra,
How.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, but I thought I heard him say 22.
Trust him.
6A2 is the other thing. that you gotta make sure
Not
they're-
like that.
6A2?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, she's got 23 there. All right,
Do you accept those?
yes, I do.
Do you accept those as a
Yes,
seconder?
yes.
Okay. Those amendments are accepted by acclamation. Is there any further discussion on the motion to approve as amended the minutes from October 7th, 2021? Hearing none. On the motion to approve the minutes from October 7th, 2021 as amended, how do you vote, Mr. Francis?
I abstain.
You abstain. Mr. Spring,
Yes.
Ms. Hansa,
Yes.
Ms. Bartolomeo.
Yes.
And I am a yes. That vote goes down as 4 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention at 6:34 p.m. to accept the minutes on October 7th, 2021 as amended. Item 3B, the minutes from October 21st, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Spring and a second by Ms. Bartolomeo to accept the minutes from October 21, 2021 as presented. I sent a couple of changes to Mr. Graves separately. One of them was under 4A6. And then 4A26. Move to make no recommendation of the article, that's redundant. And then 4A3 and 4A4 are also both redundant. And then the other two corrections that I asked him to make. Under section 5, the vote to close the pre-town meeting should have been 600, not 700. And under adjournment, under 6, the motion or the vote to adjourn should have been 600, not 700.
We wouldn't want to be redundant.
Well, not only that, we wouldn't want to have more members than we actually do. So, Mr. Spring, do you
Yes,
accept
I
those
accept.
amendments? Ms. Bartolomeo as a seconder. Okay, those are
There
accepted.
was one additional amendment.
And
that
Mr.
I
Graves
caught
has one
late.
additional amendment.
Yeah, it was Mr. Dixon's name when he spoke. I put it as an X. It's a CK.
Ah,
Yes.
and that is under,
That was under the discussion for Article 11.
under discussion for Article 11. Oh, yes, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Mr. Spring, do you accept that amendment?
Yes,
Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Okay,
I see Mr. Justice Graves wants if they can give us more members than we have.
yeah.
Are you sitting on it?
no.
All right, is there any further discussion on the minutes from October 21st, 2021 as amended? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
Yes.
Ms. Hansa?
Yes.
Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
And I am a yes, that vote passes 500 at 6:37 PM. Item 4, public comments. Is there anyone who wishes to make public comment this evening? Hearing none. We move to correspondence. Item 5A. On October 13th, 2021, from Cheryl Richardson, treasurer of the Montachusett Regional Vocational Technical School District, a revised assessment from the Montachusett Regional Vocational Technical School District. Specifically, the revised final FY 2022 Regional School District assessment for Templeton is $607,322, which is a decrease of $31,458. I'll entertain a motion to enter this into the record as read and reviewed.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to enter this document as read and reviewed into the record?
That means that they had less children going there. That's why they lowered it.
Yep.
Just so they plan one thing and they.
Plan one thing and something else
Right.
comes to pass. And
Right,
so there you
because
go.
in past years, it's an allocation from Templeton as to who goes, and if we don't use the allocation, then they give it to somebody else.
Is there any further discussion on that particular motion? No. Hearing none on the motion to accept the communication from the Montachusett Regional Vocational Technical School District into the record as read and reviewed. How do you vote, Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
Yes.
Ms. Hansa? Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That goes 5 yes, 0 no, 0 abstaining at 6:38 PM. We have no old business this evening. We move to item 7A under new business. From me, the fall special town meeting recommendation document. I'll entertain a motion to approve the recommendation document for the fall special town meeting on November 3, 2021 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the recommendation document to the fall special town meeting on November 3, 2021 as presented. I am going to share my screen on the Zoom meeting. The room will be able to see it on the monitor in the front of the room. And what we are going to do is we are going to go through this page by page. If anyone has any amendments, they may. We will make them as we go through. If we have no amendments, we will just move on to the next page. And then at the end, we will vote on the whole package, either as is or as amended, whatever we end up having to do. Okay, so Obviously, the cover page is on screen now. This is the recommendations to the fall special town meeting. Next page is just the structure of the pre-town meeting that we held, the attendance, the guests who were in the room, and when it was called to order, the motion to open it, the fact that we discussed 15 articles on the warrant, then the motion to close, and the motion to adjourn, and then the final line is reads, this recommendation document was reviewed and finalized at the October 28th, 2021 advisory committee meeting, regular business meeting, on a motion by whomever, on a second by whomever, and carried by a vote of whatever it is when we finalize this document. Okay. Article 1, the FY 2022 operating budget amendments. As you can see on the right-hand side of each of these pages, you will see the vote for each of the articles that we had in the pre-town meeting. The part that we're here to discuss this evening is the guidance. And so I will read each guidance, and then if anyone has any questions or concerns or wishes to amend it, we shall do so. I have a paper copy here that I will use for the amending, just so that everyone knows. My intention, just so everyone knows on this, is that at the end of tonight's meeting, I am going to make the edits in this document and then send it to the town administrator. By doing so, our obligation will have been completed.
Yep.
And it will have been done so 2 days in advance of deadline, which is Saturday the 30th. Okay. On Article 1, FY 22 operating budget amendments, the committee provides the following guidance on this article. The committee is in favor of this article of being adopted by town meeting. The committee recommends to the town that in the future, they please separate all items being asked for funding. For example, under buildings and grounds on this article, separate the increase in heating costs and software subscriptions. When they presented this, it was combined as one cost.
Can I make a suggestion, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that the software should be for the cemetery, cemetery commissioners, because
And
it's not for the heating.
yep. Cemetery Commission, I will add that. I will add that. You're making that, so you were the original
Yes.
mover, so you
I'll make a
accept.
motion to
Well,
add that.
Yeah, just, okay, so you're gonna make a motion to amend to add Cemetery Commission before the word software.
Second that.
All right, so,
It makes it difficult when you're at town meeting, because if they want to
Yep.
make a change, they have to make a whole new
Yep.
article.
Yep. Okay. Is there any other questions on the recommendation to Article 1? Since you moved it and she seconded it, you were the original mover and seconder, it's taken by acclamation. Anything else on Article 1? Seeing nothing. Article 2, FY 2022 capital budget amendment. The vote was 6-0-0-0. The committee provides the following guidance on this article. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted at town meeting. The committee applauds the town administrator for admitting his mistake and taking the proper actions to correct it. This was his verbiage.
Yes.
He put SUV in there, he should have put truck. Any questions on 2?
No.
3, amending the bylaws Re-Advisory Committee. The committee provides the following guidance on this article. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted at town meeting. This article eliminates redundancy in the town bylaws. Timing for the advisory committee's report to town meeting was in 2 places, here and in section 9.4. The guidance will now only be in section 9.4. Anything on 3? Okay, 4. On Article 4, because there was a no vote, there are 2 guidances, one in favor and one against. I will read the comments in favor first. The advisory committee needs to be independent of town oversight in order to function properly as an oversight committee. This article changes the moderator's role with regards to appointments for vacancies in the advisory committee and makes the committee a more independent board while leaving the ability for the moderator to appoint in case of a lack of quorum as a safety net. It does not change the moderator's role after town meeting, as he must still appoint to advisory committee within 30 days. The advisory committee recruits their own members generally, and the moderator historically does not. Massachusetts general law does not grant the moderator any powers other than to run the town meetings. This article aligns us with many of our comparison communities and with our historical bylaw. This article also changes the time frame for the advisory committee to report to town meeting from 5 days to 2 for the annual town meeting and from 4 days to 2 for the special town meeting. As currently written, it is extremely difficult for the advisory committee to make the timelines, and it failed to do so once in fiscal year 2021 for fall meeting 2020. These adjusted timelines will make it more realistic for the committee to perform its duties to the town and to provide a complete recommendation document.
Just if we can end up adding to that,
Yes?
we did say that. I went back to get my emails.
Yep.
And I looked at when it was actually submitted on the open town government, the town government, it was created on 10/26, the day of the fall town meeting. The secretary put this out to everybody on the 22nd to review. The chairman on the 23rd. So if you look 23rd to 26th, we did not make it. I don't know I did not find an email when he sent it to the town administrator. So I mean,
Bottom line is we missed that.
yes,
bottom line is we
but
missed that.
I did have the documentation to show
To
that.
back it up.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Is there any questions on the comments in favor?
Just as a note, because I've been hearing and seeing a lot of things that are being put out there. There's 351 cities and towns. There's roughly somewhere around 270 to 290 towns. Out of those 290s, I mentioned this the last time, there's approximately 30 of them that have the same bylaw as we do.
The current one or what we're proposing?
What we're proposing.
Thank you.
The one that
Just wanted to clarify that.
the one that has been in place since 1951. In addition to that, there's another 10 to 15 communities that the finance, basically they say finance,
Yeah,
which is advisory.
we use finance and
Yes.
advisory interchangeably because
Yes.
depending on the town is what it's described as.
There was another 10 to 15 where the finance committee,
Mhm.
along with the moderator only had one vote. The entire committee did. And there was also some that said a board of selectmen. And that was again, the whole committee voting. So that ends up in the involvement of the finance committee is on top of the 30. In addition to that, I found that some communities did it by committee. And when I say that committee, they got a committee, and it was the entire board of selectmen, the entire board of the finance committee, the moderator, and they ended up closing the vacancy that way. There was only a couple of those.
Committee of the
Yes.
whole, as it were. in the
Yes,
case,
yes. There was only a few of those. I didn't count them per se, but because I thought there was enough as far as us following the same bylaws as everybody else, because that was a big question on that. So that people will understand that it took me quite a while to find that out, because you have to go through all the websites and every one. Some towns actually have general bylaw, some have codes, town codes. They end up having it in their charters, and it's really difficult to end up getting. So I mean, have I missed some? Because I didn't understand it, I did not end up counting them one way or the other. Because some of them are not very clear as to how they do things. And let's see, on top, that was all about the amount of people. The other thing I want to point out again, because I was going to end up asking Mr. Kaplan to end up trying to end up. I didn't understand his checks and balances. This last year, we had a lot of resignations. And at our annual town meeting,
6 in total.
we only had 3 people after the annual town meeting, because Bev and Bob were appointed by the moderator at that time, at the annual town meeting. I was still on it. We would not have been able to function had it not been that we approached you. We recommended you, that was taken up, and you submitted. So we actually recruited you per se. We recruited Ms. Curcio. We recruited
This cover.
Miss Cover. We recruited Miss Hansa, and our latest recruit is sitting at my left. Mr. Francis.
But there were also people that just came and joined on their own.
Yes, there was only one.
Yeah, that lady that ended up going, she was working in Fitchburg, so she didn't.
Oh, that's
stay
in past years. I'm talking about
Oh,
this
but
year.
Just this
even
year.
then, Even at
So-
that, yeah.
When you look at this, this committee actually went out and recruited.
Yeah.
In all the years I've been on, I have not seen the moderator. No disrespect to the moderator.
No, of course not.
But they have not recruited. They appoint, and we were lucky enough to have the moderator come in, because I ended up sending him one of the submissions that we had from the sheet to him, and he approved that right in an email to me. I have a copy of that, if anybody wants to see that.
Mhm.
So we have done it that way there. If we go to just the moderator, as some people are suggesting, what's the incentive for us as a committee to take and go out and seek anybody? I'll tell you right now, if it's just a moderator and it goes to that, I'm gonna let him go off and seek it. I can't end up in good conscience trying to take and check down people if he's just gonna appoint and do nothing other than that. I mean, it just doesn't play well with me.
I think I want it to make it as easy as possible for the public if they want to join the
Right.
committee.
Yeah.
I don't want them to have to chase anyone down.
In some
50
years,
years ago or 100 years ago, no one left town. They worked in town, they were home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mhm.
This is not the world we live in any longer.
Mm.
People are scattered to the wind. And that easier it is for someone to get on board. And recruiting is like, gee, are you interested? Or they come and say, I have a question for you. That's what recruiting is. But we have never refused anyone, ever.
Right.
And
I
in
mean-
all honesty, we're probably going to recruit. We may recruit somebody at the coming town
Hopefully,
meeting.
Right.
yes.
Which when you look at it, we ended up recruiting, we put it forth to the administrator, and he just did it on an email. We ended up, Mr. Francis, I'm not trying to take a pick on you, but we had him come in and he put the thing in, and we end up having some dialogue. He talked about us, we asked some questions, and we voted in. In all the years that I have been on, the process has always been that way.
As
Is
easy
you
as
talk to
possible.
the individual and do that. If in the past also, when it was just the older bylaw, if we had nobody, we had vacancies, we would end up, the first place we would end up going would be to the selectman's office. To
Anybody
see
interested?
if there was any paperwork there. Most times we found nothing. The next place, we would send an email to the moderator and give him if he's got somebody, that's fine. And all the times that we asked him, no. So, I mean,
Well, see, the moderator's job really isn't a long running thing. He's pretty much done 30 days after town meeting.
until the
And
next town meeting.
until the next town meeting. And then sometimes we've had a time where no one ran for moderator and one is appointed
Mhm.
if they have to. So
Right.
it has worked, and I don't know why.
Yeah, so because I didn't understand Mr. Caplis's thing about his objection with the checks and balances, because even though we recruited and we submitted to the moderator, he did his job because there was a time frame when he was able to take and make the appointments. Had we not found those people at that particular time and it came to us, we would have been the same thing as Mr. Francis. That's the point I want to end up making.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I'm a little,
Enough.
I ended up having somebody tell me this and that, and I was a little upset with the fact that this type of thing. There's one community. It's the community Adams. They have 15 people on their finance committee. In their bylaw, it basically says that if you have 3 consecutive terms or reach the age of 70, then you are notified that you should be a retired member and you become an honorary member. But in that, it also says that the chairman can end up asking the honorary members to come back and weigh in and share their knowledge with the folks. And I don't know who's reading that or what, but I saw that and somebody told me about that. I looked at it and I says, that's not right. That's not the whole story. They have 15 people. I don't know how they do it.
They used
get
to
15
have
people.
they used to have big committees in town because there were people that were more centralized. Now, people are out of town a lot.
And
so
I'm
you have
sure,
to- You have to do what you can to help them out.
yeah, and I'm sure that I brought these things up. You'll probably see my name or something on this committee as objecting to what I've said. And that's the right of people to do that, but they gotta stop giving the wrong impression on stuff per se. And I just want to take and stop it there because I believe we've gone back to the bylaw the way it was. And it's the right move to take it, end up doing it that way. We would probably continue to do it the way we've done it and ask the moderator anyway.
Any other comments on the comments in favor?
No.
I will read the comments opposed or the comments against. I'm not going to take any. I'm not going to take anything on these because the comments against were provided by the no vote.
We rehashed that anyway.
Yeah, and we pretty much rehashed that. From the member voting no, I believe there should be checks and balances in the bylaws, and this article would remove one of those checks and balances by minimizing the role of the moderator in appointing persons to the advisory committee. I am opposed to the changes in section 9.3, but not opposed to the changes in section 9.4.
Okay.
Anything else on Article 4?
No, that's why I was hoping he would be here, trying to understand his checks and balances because that's why I went through how we end up doing it per se. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's quite all right. Let's move to Article 5. This is to authorize special legislation, Parks and Recreation Commission. Vote on this was 6-0-0-0. The committee provides the following guidance on this article. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by town meeting. The special legislation would authorize the creation of a Parks and Recreation Commission and allow the town to appoint the 7-person board rather than have it be an elected board. The current Recreation Commission is an appointed board. This special legislation would align the new Parks and Recreation Commission with our current Recreation Commission's design.
Yep.
Is there any questions on Article 5's comments?
No, I believe we should have this. I looked at a lot of the towns that I check on, that's what I did with the advisory.
Yep.
There's quite a few towns. They're set up a little bit differently, but I think that there is a need to take and have that. Now, the operation is a totally different thing. This just says we should have a committee.
Correct. This is step 1.
Yep.
This is just establishing it. And then steps 2, 3, 4 will come down the line with the consolidation of departments and whatever else they need.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any questions on 5?
No.
6, Parks and Recreation Commission. Again, the vote was 6-0-0-0. The committee provides the following guidance on this article. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. This article would, pending the passage and signing of the special legislation in Article 5, create the establishment bylaws for the Parks and Recreation Commission. It also updates the language of the Recreation Commission's existing bylaws. There was some stuff in there about precinct A and precinct B that's been deleted, obviously, because there's no precincts anymore. But other than that, is there any other questions on Article 6?
I think that the bylaw is going to have to take an encompassing more based upon my research.
I also don't think they're done here. This is again,
I
this
hope so.
is step 1.
Right, because if it's just the way it is, we're going to have problems.
Yeah. And no, this is just step 1.
Right, and I see that, and I'm just saying that there's a potential if they don't do it, we could end up having problems budgetary wise as well as operational wise.
Well, this is something that I know Jeff's been working on, something we've needed for a long time.
Mhm.
Because there's always the we don't have money routine.
Right.
When somebody's got a burned out house next door for years.
Yeah, as long as the due diligence
Yeah.
on the bylaw is done, that they can cover all the stuff, like other towns, yes.
They will.
Any other questions on Article 6's comments? Article 7, authorizing special legislation, Re-Revolving Fund for Problem Properties. Again, the vote here was 6-0-0-0. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. This article, if passed by the state legislature, would establish a revolving fund for the town to act upon town-owned blighted properties to be replenished by whatever grants, state reimbursements, and property sales the town accrues as a result of blighted property cleanup. The next article would put seed money into the revolving account for the town to begin with. This legislation is the same as passed for the town of Athol.
Yep.
Is there any questions on the comments for 7?
Just a comment, Article 7 is much needed, it has been for some time.
Hearing no comments. Article 8, the vote here was 5 yes, 0 no, 1 abstaining and 1 absent. Committee provides the following guidance on the article. The committee is in favor of the article being adopted by the town meeting. This article, pending passage and signing of the special legislation in Article 7, would deposit the seed money into the demolition revolving fund. It also makes us eligible for the grants regarding blighting properties and their remediation.
I just hope we can sustain this with funds, that's all. It needs to be done.
The administrator, Mr. Lamontagne, seems to think that this will be sustainable between grants for demolishing properties. The state reimburses, I believe, 50% on when we do this sort of work. Sale of the properties themselves, that money can go back into this fund, et cetera, et cetera. He seems to think this is going to be sustainable.
Yep.
Any comments on the comments for 8?
Oh.
9, dissolve the Senior Center Oversight Committee. This was a vote was yes, 5 yes, 0 no, 0 abstaining, and 1 absent. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. The Senior Center Oversight Committee has completed its obligation and is therefore no longer needed and should be dissolved. The select board is supervising remaining repairs to the senior center, roof and kitchen specifically. The Council on Aging has been taking a more active role in the senior center's oversight. Any comments on Article 9's?
This is a good article because it's been some time since that committee hasn't done anything.
Anything else on 9? 10, dissolving the TES Building Committee. This vote was 6 yes, 0 no, 0 abstaining, 0 absent. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. All submittals have been made to close out the process for Templeton Elementary School. We are awaiting approval from the state that the Mass School Building Authority has signed off on the process. The TES Building Committee would be dissolved upon receipt of the notification from the MSBA. Any questions on the comments for Article 10?
No, that way we can go forward with changing the ban to a bond.
Anything else? No? Good. Article 11, Special Articles Re-General Fund. This vote was 5 yes, 0 no, 0 abstaining, and 0 absent. The committee provides the following guidance on this article. 1 committee member recused himself from deliberation on this article. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. Regarding the tax title work, the town is taking a more active role in going after property owners delinquent on their taxes and needs this money to do the work. Regarding the emergency management CERT, this money is provided by the CARES Act and will be going to purchasing emergency equipment and supplies needed by the town. This money is not going to pay volunteers on the emergency management or CERT teams. Generally, emergency management is funded solely by grants, and this is a unique opportunity for emergency management to have additional funding to benefit the town. Regarding involvement with school caretaking, this is to maintain the building until the process of converting into apartments can begin, such as building preservation and security, cleaning vandalism, etc. Anything on the comments for Article 11?
On the thing about CERT, I just hope Mr. Dixon comes because the information that we got from his boss basically didn't give the same impression, and he clarified a lot of things for all of us.
Yes.
On that, so I just hope he's at the.
You hope he's at town meeting to be able to
Usually,
address those.
usually goes.
I say he usually shows up, I thought, so.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on 11? No? 12. Capital Budget Regeneral Fund. The committee provides, the vote on this one was 6 yes, 0 no, 0 abstaining, and 0 absent. The committee provides the following guidance. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. Regarding River's Edge, the Conservation Commission wants to get this project completed prior to the completion of the Baldwinville School apartment conversion and for the greater benefit of the town. These monies, along with money already on the books, will allow for successful completion. And then regarding the 2021 cat loader, this is to replace a similar machine that has suffered catastrophic failure transmission after the FY 2022 capital budget was finalized. The failed machine will be traded in as part of the new cat loader's purchase, adding $20,000 to this for a total cost of $203,500. This is needed for the continued successful operation of the town DPW and the proper maintenance of the town. Any questions or comments on the comments of Article 12?
I think the only thing on the River's Edge is we got clarification that there was another thing for wetlands, and that was going to be looked into for probably further use for them to use in this type of situation. But as far as what they were doing, it's time to complete that because of the $20 million project that we have on that street.
Okay. So the comments on this are good.
Yes, they are.
Article 13, the appointment of the tree warden. Vote was 6-0-0-0. Committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. This officially adopts and makes us compliant with Mass General Law to make the position of the tree warden appointable to a 3-year term by the select board.
I
comments on this?
Yeah, I looked at this and try to understand it a little bit better, because I think we asked about that the DPW director would be still unnominated.
Yep.
For tree warden, and
Yep.
it would be a 3-year appointment.
Yep.
I looked at other communities smaller than us, and they actually have a tree warden
Yeah, we always did.
and a budget, and we used to have this. But I mean, if this helps out, going forward, I would like to see us go back to
A separate tree warden.
separate tree warden, but we do need one.
Any questions on the comments? No. Article 14, deposits to the general fund stabilization and OPEB accounts. This vote was 6-0-0-0. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. The deposits are for our emergency rainy day funds. The advisory committee commends the town on their fiscal responsibility, allowing us to deposit these amounts to OPEX, CAPEX, and OPEB to keep the town prepared for the future. Any questions on those comments?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman, we will be reviewing our stabilization fund, probably at the next meeting.
Correct.
It will show where we stand per se, putting a nail in the coffin as to what dates that we were looking at against the budgets. And it gives a better idea as to where we actually stand as of today with our budget, etc. So I mean, that's a good move. Have we made it where we need to be? Probably not.
But we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Regarding that policy, can you send me the?
I was going to tell you, I was going to take my updated one.
Thank you.
Will be sent to you, and all the changes will be in red.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else on 14? Final one, Article 15, rescission of unauthorized but unused debt. Vote was 6-0-0-0. The committee provides the following guidance. The committee is in favor of this article being adopted by the town meeting. This article is to close out a debt account that the town had opened for storm drain repair that it did not fully need. By closing out this debt account, the town's debt ratio will be lowered. It will improve the town's position in the eyes of banks and creditors and may help to improve the town's bond rating. Any questions on the comments there?
It's about time. There is some others that also need to be done, but I think that
This is a good start.
the administrator is taking cuts at it. So we've got some changes that are positive.
All right. Having said that, so I have one amendment, so I think on this document. So at this time, and that amendment has been accepted. That was on page 1. I'm just adding a couple words there for Cemetery Commission. Is there any further comments? Hearing none on the motion to approve the fall special town meeting recommendation document as amended. How do you vote, Mr. Francis?
To accept, yes.
To accept, yes. Mr.
Yes.
Spring, yes.
Yes.
Ms. Hansa, yes. Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes,
Man, I am a yes. That vote passes 5-0-0 to accept the fall special town meeting recommendation document as amended at 7:07 p.m. I will send this I will make the change and send this to the town administrator before I shut off the Wi-Fi on my computer in this building this evening. And like I said, that will close our obligation other than attending the town meeting, because we're all voters and we all want to make sure that our voices are heard. Shameless plug. But other than that, the advisory committee's obligations for the fall special town meeting will be completed once I hit the send
Just to
button.
clear up, because I understand that there was some negative information about the advisory not doing their due diligence in a timely manner. One of the things that we ran into is we ended up having, as soon as the selectmen gave us the warrant, we had already scheduled on a Saturday to have the pre-town meeting notice for the following Thursday. And it became a scheduling problem. We wanted to take it into meeting earlier than this date here. And it was because of scheduling with PCTV and the availability in this room, so that we could not end up doing our due diligence in a more quickly than what we already have.
Okay, very good. And might I also add to the committee, thank you for your careful and thoughtful deliberation on the article last week. I was very proud of the work that we did at that pre-town meeting to ensure that the voters have good information going into the town meeting.
I think we asked a lot of good
Yes, we
questions to think and end up getting the information out. I had another conversation with the administrator that he ended up getting the department heads to come so they could end up with it. That was immensely informational, and it helped us that they can end up making a better decisions with the information that they provided.
Okay. Let's move to item 7B of new business from on October 20th, 2021, from Kelli Pontbriand, the town accountant, who is with us this evening. The September 2021 budget versus actual document. I'll entertain a motion at this time to enter this document into the record as read and reviewed.
So moved.
I have a motion. To have a second.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Spring.
Unless you have a.
Well, I have some extra from last night from the
Ah, oh.
selectmen's meeting, the revenue.
Okay.
And the special articles.
Yes, we
Thank
did
you.
have the revenue sheet I pulled from that meeting.
So I brought those, so we could go over those too if you have questions.
So I have a motion and a second on the floor to accept the budget versus actual document as read and reviewed. Ms. Pontbriand,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm wonderful.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I've got some stuff circled that I'm gonna ask about first.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna open the floor to everyone
Can I make a
else.
motion, Mr. Chairman, first before we do this?
Yeah.
Is that the document that they just handed us, because it's being handed tonight, is that they can review this at the next meeting? I mean, it's not gonna give us a chance to.
Yes.
sit there
Um,
and
Could I ask you to do me a favor, Ms. Pontbriand?
Yes,
Can you provide me the documents you just handed to us?
yes,
Can you provide me these electronically?
yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I
mean,
will do
it's
so.
gonna-
I
It'll be
will.
hard for us to
Yeah.
go over these.
that's fine, that's
So,
fine.
just for the public's knowledge, please explain the documents you handed to us very quickly.
Okay, so the finance team does a quarterly report to the selectmen, and in that quarterly report is the budget versus actual discussions of why people's budgets are over. That is the revenue report that I've given and the special articles report. So all of the special articles that we have, there's an explanation from the department heads as to why that is, and that report comes out quarterly and is found on the town website the day after that selectmen's meeting.
Can I ask a question? Very good.
Yes,
The sheet that Adam put out as far as the revenues,
yes.
that's part of what you have here, because it was in a different form.
Right, this is the current year. This is current year revenue for the first quarter of this year. What he gave you is the last 5 years actuals. And then the column that I have put in is taking the formula of taking out the high, taking out the low, doing the average of the three. That's what
And
that comes up.
recommendations,
And
because
then he makes his recommendations based on looking at what that average is for those last 5
because what he
years.
did on, and just if you can end up refreshing them, unless they have it look, I looked at that really quickly, and I found 24 of the items are less than last year, and about $200,000 less than last year as far as predicted revenue, because we
Yeah.
haven't gone through the year.
Right, and my isn't even a prediction. Mine is just the average. That gives
Yes,
him the starting
Yes,
point.
I
Yeah.
understand that, but I mean, it was kind of disturbing to me that we had $200,000 less, and we're going to level fund it, and it's somebody's gonna lose something, maybe.
Yeah.
And that concerns me as to, and I talked to him about possibly that the instead of level funding, maybe we should have gone 1% less.
We should have level funded this last year.
Well, it's gone by for this year.
Yeah.
I can only talk to next year, and maybe we should have done a little bit better there. I just hope we don't get in trouble.
Yeah, those are all his decisions to make.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so you'll provide these to me electronically,
Yes.
and I will put them on next week's agenda.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also, I am available by Zoom anytime that you need me. If you would like me to come into one of your meetings and have a discussion, you just need to let me know and I can zoom in and
Excellent.
I will, answer any questions or anything you might have.
Spectacular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I'll keep that in mind when
Yeah.
when our Zoom meeting things come out. I'll
Yeah.
make sure to forward them to you for any
Yeah.
meetings where we have a BVA on or
that you
something
wanna
like that, that we'd
discuss.
like that. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
more than
That's,
happy to do that.
I greatly appreciate that. Thank you,
You're
man.
welcome.
Yeah, for you, you can look at the numbers,
Mhm.
but unless the department heads are in on it, why they spent the way they did,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, though, I've been here long enough that I pretty much understand a lot of the department heads and their thinking and why they're doing it. And that's part of that quarterly report is the, document that goes in the front that gives you the explanations of why a lot of things are happening.
So let's begin with questions. Page 1, I assume you have the thing in front of you.
I do.
Town accountant supplies, we're already at 92% expended.
Okay,
Assessor, we're already at 91% expended.
Okay.
There's some concerns there. I don't know if there's anything we can speak to on that. Other
Okay.
than
when,
And the supplies for the selectmen were 47%.
I was less concerned about that because it's
Right,
at least
you're
closer to the
right.
25% number that we kind of,
Right.
you kind of want to project that. 91 and 92 scare me a little at this
If
point.
you've been here a while, you know that they paid for a lot of stuff
Yeah.
at one time.
And I know that's, and I know that some of this is probably upfront payments, and I get that as
Yeah.
well, but,
But on the supplies, I can't see it's how it's up front.
well, hopefully we're gonna get an explanation of that right now.
there was an expense that was misclassified under the selectmen expense
Mhm.
that I was given to correct, so that when we got the payable, it was the wrong expense.
Mhm.
So that has now been corrected, and the supplies expended is only $61.92. Their remaining balance is $2,438.08.
That's a big change.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there was
That was a
one.
real big
That was a real
misclassification.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
big
there
one.
was one big expense that
Yikes.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Took
Oopsie.
care of that. Yep, took care of that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I've got 3 or 4 that I've
Okay.
come that, I need to tell you about as we
Okay.
go through,
What
which
about the
probably
one
will
for
be.
town accountant and the assessors?
Okay, so for the town accountant, again, there was an expense that was put to supplies that should have gone to employee support. So for the employee support, the original budget is $4,500. The expense is $1,672.27,
I knew it.
leaving $2,827.73. That's at 37%.
Mhm.
That includes the spring or the summer conference that I zoomed in with, and then my travel for this to be here for the audit and the town meeting. So then with that correction, that left the supplies budget at 2,000, the expenses of 420.79, remaining budget 1,579.21.
That's better.
Okay.
Those are big changes.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Feel better.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just takes that one digit when you're entering it that it just makes a big difference.
Yep.
I can tell you on the other, that was one of the things that I
Assessor, yeah.
covered in my report. Luann buys a certain amount of postage every year.
Yep.
And because the postage was going up, she
She bought
purchased
extra.
all of her that she would buy
Makes
for the
sense.
year before that to save the money.
Good,
Okay.
Smart move.
good move.
Yes.
Yep,
yes,
yep.
absolutely.
Next,
I'd like to go to page 3,
Uh-uh.
under senior services.
Can we go to page 2 first?
I was gonna go, I have a bunch of stuff that I was gonna go through circled, and then I was gonna come back. and let you guys-
and then we can move down the row.
Yeah, exactly. You're all gonna have your chance. I'm just going through the stuff that I had
Okay.
noticed.
And he's got the club.
Yeah, you got the stick, so you're in charge.
Okay,
Page 3.
page 3. We're at page 3.
I got a bigger club.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Senior services, purchase of services, that was at 43.40%.
That is their software that they have at the senior center where seniors can clock in. They clock in, see, they know who's there for what what types of activities. They can run reports to see what it is. And that also helps in funding for certain grants when they can track and have a report to show that seniors were there for certain events.
This is an ongoing charge every year?
Yes, every year.
Okay.
How much?
And most of them, I would say 90% of a lot of these that you see
Our
in
one
this first
times.
quarter are software because we have to pay it all. It's all
All at
one
once.
time. Yeah.
One
Do we
time.
get any breaks if we do that?
The only one we do is the Worcester Regional
Yes, I
Retirement.
know about that one.
That's the only one.
That's the only one.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know, I
Yeah.
know. But we get a good savings from Worcester Regional.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
absolutely.
It's
Yes.
a big cash outflow for us and it's kind of a, it puts us pretty tight, but it's definitely worth that struggle.
It's worth every penny that we pay,
Most definitely.
because that means something else in the budget can end up being handled.
Yeah, funded.
Page 4, under library, purchase of services, that's at 77% already.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, purchase of services on library. Let me go up here. Okay, that is, that again is their CW Mars software.
Okay,
So that's the
that's the,
state, you know, we've never really had that before until the last couple of years. But Jackie has expressed how much more interest they've had in the library because of that.
this
and-
actually allows them to get books from other places, I believe,
Correct.
too.
Correct.
Part of the Mars thing.
Yes, CW
Yeah.
Mars, yep.
Plus, you know,
Wonderful
plus it
system.
also gives the books that we've had sitting on the shelves that nobody gets to really
Opportunity for
see
somebody
that
else to
often
see it.
to be
Exactly.
pulled somewhere else also.
You know, we're way behind
Wonderful
the
system.
time. My friend lives in Spencer and they have been doing this for ages.
Gardner's
Yeah.
been doing it for ages too. I lived in Gardner for a long time. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful system.
One of the things I want
moving
to point out is
up.
that for the library budget, I think it was 15, that the advisory actually pointed out, it was, we've been underfunding
Yeah.
that department.
Mhm.
Okay. Same page 4,
Okay.
recreation and culture. Purchase of services is 56% expended.
Okay, the recreation and the cultural council share these three accounts.
Yep.
The cultural council has half of the $450 you see that's been expended.
Yep.
Is a cultural council, that's their portion of the account, and they spend it all with one expense.
Okay.
So that was, they chose to give that to one of their grantees instead of using the grant money.
Ah,
yeah.
So, because they,
Let her expand on that, what the actual cultural council went off and did. That's basically, they go off and get entertainment, et
entertainment and
cetera,
things, yeah.
and that's easy that they can end up doing, spending that. type
Oh,
of
yeah,
money.
yeah, you can blow that kind of money in a hurry there
Yeah.
like that. Yep.
Thank
So
you.
that's what that is.
Okay. Insurance and benefits, 53.19% gone in the first quarter, and is that
Worcester
normal?
Regional.
That's Worcester Regional, okay?
Yeah.
That
Regional.
answers that question.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a giant
But we get the
one.
benefit on the other end.
right, we get the benefit on the other end because there's a benefit, or because there's a discount on that.
Right.
Looking into the special articles, I got a couple things here that I have circled.
Okay, if you, can you hold those?
Yes.
Because I want to go through, oh, but we're not doing that tonight. Never mind, go ahead. We can go down that entire list and have the discussion of each one.
There's a few here specifically that I
Okay.
have questions on.
All right,
2019 scholarship, we're on page 5. That is 0% expended. At what point is that? Because there's 2020 scholarship on here.
right.
That's also 0% expended.
So let me explain to you how that works.
Yep.
It's always a year behind,
Okay,
okay? When they grant these 5 scholarships, as an example, they have to provide their grades, they have to provide how they paid for their schooling and all of that in order to get the money.
Okay.
So out of those 5, maybe only 3 of them came through with the right grades and the right stuff.
Yep.
So then they give it to them. They don't in that year decide, oh, we're gonna do
Return.
two more scholarships. I've talked with them because that's been the pattern. That's
Yeah.
been the pattern. So we're always having these multiple years
right.
back. So this year I talked with them, well, at the end of last year, I gave them what they had.
Mhm.
And said, this year you need to give out several more scholarships than you normally would in a year so that we can start using some of this
Yeah, we're
money.
carrying too much.
Yep, makes
Yeah.
sense.
And just so everybody is aware, and I know Kelly is, that we end up having that as a separate article
Mhm.
for the reason that it's carried over because of the way they hand out the scholarships.
It's always.
But if it's sitting in an account, it isn't doing anyone any good.
Right.
So we use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kids that need it.
Need it, yeah.
Good plan on that. 2020 DPW MS4 CB plan map, and then the 2021 version. So the 2021 version is 100% expended. The
Yeah.
2020 version doesn't look like it's been touched.
There is, that is something that Adam is working on.
Okay.
And it depends on where they are in the project. And the allotment that comes through for that is for certain projects.
Mhm.
So let's say the project they're working on for 2022 is a fairly quick project and it's going to take all of that money.
Yep.
So you might see that fully expended. There might be a section of that project they're working on in 2020 that, let's say, is going to eat away of it at little bits of it. So you're never really going to see a full pattern like you would see with like the revals,
Mhm.
where, you know, we use all the first year that, you use all the second, because when they get that money, with the contractor that they work with, they have that all budgeted out as to what's gonna be. And it depends on when that section of the project is finished.
And
So-
but as far as the reval, to ask for it all in 1 year is a lot of money.
Mhm.
And they spread it out, so it doesn't impact the budget greatly.
Another question along the same lines.
Okay.
2020 DPW vehicle major repairs has money left in it. 2021 DPW vehicle repairs is gone,
Okay,
100% expended.
right. So the money that was carried forward, that one, we probably should have coded the expenses all to the first one and then used it down, but it just didn't happen that way.
Can
It
I
just-
ask the rubber tire backhoe loader? You've got $85.25.
So that's 85%.
85, $419.65 left. Why
Yeah.
don't you just close it out?
Because there was another part that needed to be ordered to go with that, and that will be ordered, is still not in.
Oh,
I mean, that's what we're finding with a lot of things we're ordering is, it's
Supply
just like
chain.
everybody
Should've slowed
else. We just can't get it.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are on back order, and that was a part that we were to get for that, but it's still hasn't arrived.
That's even been a huge issue. That's even been a huge issue in my business is that we're
Yeah.
trying, supply chain right now is completely messed up and
Yeah. Yeah.
lead times for stuff are triple and
And costs are out.
costs are out of this
Just-
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Is
Yeah.
this particular
$50
part
for
on the
$20
price?
Yeah.
See, that's the other thing. We don't. We don't know if it's gonna, that's what we're seeing with all of these, like, the cruisers that we've put on order. We aren't real sure if by the time it comes in, if that's gonna be enough money or not.
Mhm.
Those are things that I'm sure at some point we'll have to go to a town meeting to say,
We need
here,
more.
this is the way it is.
Yeah.
I was relieved that we got the vehicle from Light and Water, because that will free up 25,000 for that particular article, that we could use that money for another section that, we'll be able to take care of to help with that cost increase.
My next item, page 6,
Okay,
under the Community Preservation Fund,
yes,
STM May 2010 conservation, $8,000 still sitting on the books. Why? It's 11 years old.
I know.
Almost 12.
I'm gonna be just really honest with you. I cannot give you a solid answer for
Okay.
that. What I have been told is that back when this money was voted for, it was for the conservation basically to use for certain types of projects
Okay.
that they would have. And they've not had them. They had a few, and then it's just been a trickle thing. And I talked with John Henshaw at the CPC about closing it, and he said, no, that's the amount of money we wanted to give them. We're gonna leave that there until they use it.
That's
And
crazy.
just to add
Yeah.
on to that,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
money is along with the article that's in the Fall Town.
Yeah,
Meeting.
River's Edge.
Right,
Right.
River's Edge.
River-
It's-
And River's Edge, I'm willing to give a little bit of a pass on this one because they're at least advancing it. And they went to bid. The reason they have the money in.
Oh, you're talking about the 2010 one conservation.
I'm talking about 2010.
Yeah,
River's Edge, I'm gonna let pass because they're gonna finish it. They went out to bid. They know they need more money. They're asking for it at the town meeting in order to get what they need to finish it. I'll
Right.
give them a little bit of a pass on that one.
Yeah.
2010, I really, at
Yeah,
this point, I
I know.
really can't give a pass on that one. I am going to make a motion to recommend to the CPC that the STM May 2010 conservation line in the amount of $8,000 be closed. That is a motion.
Yeah.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Do I have a motion and I have a second? Do I have any further discussion on that?
No, makes sense. Doesn't make any sense to leave it
Just
there.
in conversation, we already ended up putting a recommendation that they end up looking at some of this stuff.
Yes. Well, and having said that, I think that's also why River's Edge is being
Yeah.
advanced. We told, you're right, back in, might have been the first or second meeting that I was the chair.
Yeah.
We
in
went back,
June, I
yeah,
think.
back in June, exactly. We made a recommendation to CPC to start reviewing this stuff. So now
Right.
we've done that recommendation. I'm not recommending anymore. We asked them to do their jobs as far as recommending. Now I'm going to tell them to do it. And that's how we're gonna do it.
Well,
is
we
we're
can
gonna-
only recommend.
Well, we can only recommend, but I'm making the recommendation.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion on that motion?
No, never makes sense. Makes no sense to have it sitting there.
Hearing none on the motion to recommend to CPC to close STM May 2010 conservation line in the amount of $8,000. How do you vote, Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
My only caveat to voting yes is that to request a response from them when we send it.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Yes, and I say yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. 5 yes, 0 no, 0 abstaining at 7:30 PM. That's going to pass. Okay, let me just check to see if there's anything else I had circled. I think that I was pretty much done at that point. I figured that would be enough out of me from Ms. Pontbriand to have to answer.
No, that's okay.
Okay, yeah, my only other comment here is that the total budget is at 22.85% expended, 25% through a quarter is probably about where you want to be, give or take, so I don't feel too bad about that. I just had those concerns about those items. I'm gonna open it to the floor. Anyone else have any questions, Mr. Francis?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, sir.
On the item on page 5, the tax title work.
Yes.
I just remember from a prior meeting, the land court being mentioned,
Okay.
to clear or obtain title, proper
Okay.
title, and I know from past experience that land court matters are very expensive.
They are.
So my question to you is the 17,500 enough?
Well, that's what we're getting at town, that's what we're asking for at town meeting.
Yeah.
We're asking for the 17.5.
At this point, just to kind of give you, I don't know how long I'm not sure how long you've been on the committee. In the treasurer collector's office, they have not had good staffing and stable staffing. So currently now they've hired a full-time person that is working out tremendously well. So the treasurer collector can now start working on these and really, because that's one of the things, people think it's a quick, hey, I can just do this, there's these long processes you have to go through. So she has now taken, her and Luann have sat down and gone through all the listing of the tax titles that we have of what we need to foreclose on and work on next.
Yep.
So she's working on a letter to get that sent out so that we can start working on that. And up until this 17.5, and I think a little bit before, the town never really budgeted much, and you
Right.
can't.
We didn't have the money.
Yeah, and when you have one foreclosure could end up taking all of that depending on how it works.
Yep.
And I will say there is one property that we had foreclosed on. And the owner of that property did come to the meeting last night and paid that off.
Oh.
So that will be going back to them to be back on the tax rolls, and we are just hoping that going forward, they will pay their taxes. You just don't know. So that hopefully, that's a big chunk of money that we've gotten back that we'll be able to put that in for free cash for next year.
Like $33,000 on that one check, so
Yeah,
that's pretty
yeah.
good.
Sometimes that's just a little incentive for these people to pay.
True.
But the basis of my concern
Is it
are
enough?
the tax titles, being foreclosed on, are they land court titles or are they ordinary?
Most of them are properties. Most of them are houses that they're working on. And as far as what court and all of that, I don't know that. That's not something that I work with.
Because
But
the land courts are completely different.
Land court, isn't it older
Yeah.
properties that have been established a long time?
No, land court is, you can have your property surveyed to meet land court standards, which are very
Oh,
exacting. And when
Yeah.
you foreclose on a property, if you have to go to the land court,
right,
rather than, Worcester County Court, it's a
right.
very expensive proposition.
True, and I think we have to go down the road of that process quite a while, I think, before we get to that. Like with this case, we didn't have to do that. We did the foreclosure in the Worcester County, got the liens and all of that, and then, the people now have come and done that. But there's a year span, I believe, before it goes to land court. There's in the, timeframes. That's part of the problem is, with the laws the way they are, and the steps, like, okay, if they had not come to pay, we would now have to sit and wait a year before we could take any more action on that.
Yeah,
And
the
then,
resident
like you said,
junction.
we didn't do anything for a long time. There's no incentive
Right,
to pay up
right,
if nothing's gonna happen to you.
And
right,
hopefully with, now that we've done it once
yes.
and they've come through
I
and,
think we've done it a few.
well, I know
We've done it more than
we've done it more than once, but just now that we've done it, hopefully
Yeah.
hopefully if people see these things start coming, it'll be
Right.
the kick that they need to,
Yeah.
Just to
Make the
back up
payments.
for Mr. Francis's information, it was 16 or 17 that they actually went to a company and they sold all of the basically anybody that was in, that owed us money. They bought them, we got
It was close to
about
300.
500,000 or
Yeah,
something
I
like
think
that,
it was around 300,
$500,000,
yeah.
somewhere in there. And that cleaned up the books a lot. So now what we're dealing with is just the ones present now.
Well,
We
Yes.
we owed over $1 million up.
well, a lot of it is the American tissue properties.
Yes.
That's a big bulk of it. The problem with the selling of those is they take your cream of the cream paste people that you could get the money from,
Yep.
that you could get the full amount. They, when tillage comes in, they don't take,
They don't do the hard ones like
right,
American.
the one that they leave for us is the stuff that is, very difficult to try to foreclose on and all of that.
Yeah,
So.
because of the fact that
Yeah.
it's an environmental issue on some of the properties.
So, and right now, we do have over $1 million in tax title. About 600 of that is American tissue, and that's just the principal,
Yeah, they're not the interest.
That
isn't
The
the
interest
interest.
is more, I think.
I'm
now.
sure. Yeah,
And if you think we're gonna get it anytime soon, don't hold your breath.
no, I'm sure we will all be gone before anything can happen with that property,
Yeah, it's gonna
which
be a
is
long
sad,
time.
which
Yeah.
is sad because it's a great property. It would
Unless,
be,
we
such
can
a
get
good
the
opportunity
government,
for someone.
the state to help us, because
Because it's got a
Gardner's
real
done
front
that.
and sides over there.
yeah, I mean, it is an ideal property, it's just
If we
the
could end up doing
environmental.
something with that for business.
But
with
see,
the
they
real
were
front.
supposed to have cleaned that up, so I don't know really how much the environmental's a factor. It's more the whole thing is a mess.
Yeah, the environmental is the problem. The environmental is the cost of that is the problem.
But I do appreciate your answering my question about.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
land
that
court
took
isn't
care of
something we have to do right away. It goes through the Worcester
That's a long
and then
process.
we, yeah.
I'm familiar with the process.
anything else, Mr. Francis? No. Mr. Sparrow.
Yeah, just a couple, and you took away all my thunder because those are a lot of the same ones that you brought up, I already had, just on the fire.
That's new, that normally doesn't happen.
On the fire EMS, this is on page 2, fire EMS and development services,
Yes.
on the employee support, it's so low. That's my concern, that we're not doing anything as far as with the employees.
I believe, a lot of the fire is for gear that they have to have for their, for their job, like the coats and all of the stuff they
Would that be
buy.
employee support, or would that be supplies?
No, it's the employee, because they have to have that to do their job.
Okay.
That's the whole point of that.
Okay.
Again,
I
it's
thought it
on,
was for training also.
yeah, it's for training also, but again, it's back ordered.
Yeah.
That's the
All
problem.
the
We
equipment's
can't
back
get it.
ordered.
We can't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going to California.
Yeah. So normally we would have probably spent a lot more of that because we can buy the stuff that the guys need, but
Is that the same
unfortunately we
issue
can't
with
get
the
them.
development services? We can't get the stuff or the training?
Development services.
It's 7.5% on.
Employee support, page 2.
That one, I'm not 100% on. I know that Lori has some training and things, and I still think a lot of the trainings have been really affected still with COVID.
Still?
A lot of them are doing Zoom.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
mine, they did Zoom
Yeah.
instead of, where you
person.
went there.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you add in, when you go there, it's a lot more money
Yeah.
because you've got to pay for food and you've got a lodging and you've
Yeah,
got all these
exactly.
different things. And that could be it, but that's the best answer I could give for that one. I do not know.
I think that's reasonable, because
That's reasonable,
even in my line of work, same thing's happening.
Yeah.
All of your training is still primarily virtual. Conferences are kind of starting to get back going again, but a lot of people are also still hesitant about going to anything with anything that's going on. So that makes sense.
There's a couple of departments that have used either zero
Yeah.
or low for supplies, and I'm not sure what that's all about. Like I think
Town
the
clerk
town
being one of
clerk
them.
hasn't used any money. She's saving us a lot of money. It's $8,000.
Well, I would say almost all of hers is like census and
Oh, okay.
election and all of that, and that
That's
has
all
not,
backloaded on the
right,
year.
right,
Yeah,
so
that's all
Back
back
over
loaded.
on the other end.
yeah,
that's all
she's
May.
gonna spend a lot of that in May, if not all of
She
it.
goes nuts in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because we had one past member of the advisory who wanted a spending plan. And I kept telling him, you can't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't-
yeah, because it just, for some
It
departments,
doesn't-
it just doesn't balance.
It doesn't work for
It just
government
doesn't
like he was, the business that he was in.
Like even in your department where you're having the audit right now and everything else,
Right.
you're front loaded a little bit
Yeah,
because of
yeah,
that, so.
because once it's
yeah.
done, you know, we
Yeah.
gotta write that check to pay them.
Yeah.
so-
Right, exactly, and then you'll be
Yeah.
front loaded for the year, so even though it'll look worse than it really is, it's not.
Not.
Exactly.
Just so I understand that on page 5, it would be the trackless maintenance vehicle. Is that the one we just did at the special
Yes.
town meeting?
That's the one we did at,
Yeah.
that's the one we did at the annual.
Okay, there's an extra
22.
$10,000 in there compared to what we did.
The transmission flusher, seeing we're getting rid of the loader, I never did understand why we're gonna buy it.
That's for all vehicles. It's
And
not
But
just
you
the
know what?
loader.
They cause more trouble than they're worth.
Not on the new vehicles.
Yeah,
They,
well,
you
you shouldn't have to do that on a new vehicle.
yeah, well, the new vehicles are
$7,000
totally.
that could come back into the general fund.
That's it.
Your newer vehicles, they require that for them because they have to keep that. That's one of the reasons the older trucks didn't do so well because we didn't keep up with that. So your newer trucks, that is one of the recommendations to keep it running and keep it in a, in a good way where we're not spending. I mean, like when I got here, we were spending close to 100,000 a year just to keep our trucks on the road. And now that we're finally getting rid of some of those old trucks, we're doing so much better.
It was
How many
almost
monies-
200.
I know, we didn't have the money to
The
do it.
maintenance was almost
Yeah.
200,000.
Yeah, yeah.
You had a good mechanic, thank God, at one time.
Anything else from you, Mr. Spring?
No, you covered it all, and I just a couple of things.
Ms. Bartolomeo, did you have anything specific you wish to
No,
ask
we're
Ms.
good.
Pontbriand?
We're good.
Ms. Hanza?
I had a few and some of them are really stupid little, I just, I
It's
look at
okay.
it and I.
There
wonder,
are no stupid
what does
questions.
this
No.
mean? What does this mean? So,
No.
okay.
That's fine.
Well, the first one isn't little and stupid, but I'm wondering on the debt, the 700 club, the 700 town.
Yes.
What page?
What page are we on?
Okay,
Page four.
page 4.
Thank you.
And so I guess I'll ask the question as well as I can. Every month, what in this particular account, the interest and the principal have not been drawn at the same amount.
No.
You know, there was nothing in
Mhm.
July for the interest at all.
Right.
But the principal was like a huge amount.
Okay. So the way it works for in municipalities is we pay 2 payments a year, 2 interest and 1 principal.
Oh.
And that's all that we make in a year. And it depends on the month that you took the debt. So our debt schedule of payments, which I believe there's one in the budget book, and if not, I can get you a copy so that you can see exactly how it works to pay that. And with some of the water, we get a rebate. Rebate, that's not the right word. Let me think of the,
Not a
we
refund.
get like a discount
Oh.
on a certain debt. So that's probably why if you saw a big principal and no interest, because the principal,
Right.
the interest was free.
Mhm.
Basically, they gave us a discount on that interest. So that's probably why.
You know.
I know, it's just,
Yeah.
the way it's how it works.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
the, yeah. So
Alright.
that's why, and I will get you a copy
Thank you.
of that
Wonderful.
debt schedule.
But the way that I read this,
You
though,
can't
that
just
means
send
that.
everybody that.
Yeah.
Kelly.
I can do that.
Yeah, just send it straight to the advisory committee's email
Yeah.
address.
Okay.
It goes to all of us. So having understood that a little bit, it would seem to me that the debt principal and interest payments for the town seem to be a bit front loaded, obviously. Because
Yes.
we're at 40, we're already
Yeah.
we're already at 42% on
Because we
that
do
one.
have some big ones right up front that we
Yeah.
have to pay.
Okay.
And it just happens to
Well,
be that,
phew.
yeah, and it just happens that usually if you're going to go to borrow, you try to do that in the early part of the year so that you only have an interest payment.
Mhm.
Because it's every 6 months.
Mhm.
So if you take your debt in June or July or August, in that year, you're only going to have one interest payment. Where versus if you do it at the end of your fiscal year, then in the next fiscal year, you're going to have both. So that's why typically most towns do their borrowing in July or August.
Okay.
That's all she got.
What else?
What else you got that no one else picked off?
That no one picked off.
She's got a lot of stickies over there.
Well, it was like great,
She
great,
skipped a
great.
few though.
Oh, okay.
Well, some of them I made for myself,
Yeah.
some notes,
Yeah.
you know. And this is just a stupid, one of these stupid little
No,
questions, but what
stupid.
does, okay, this is on page 9. And this is an example there, it's recurring throughout, but what does it mean when the description of the account is vote 17.5 and et cetera?
Okay, so on those revolving funds, the town has to authorize how much we can spend out of them.
Right.
Okay, so for an example, if you look at the top, the electrical inspector.
Mhm.
Currently, the balance in that account is $10,684.96. That's currently what's in that account to be used.
Mhm.
But we could spend up to 17,000. So as the year progresses and we continue to get money, we can't overspend that amount that's there.
And so, excuse me, so the 17.5 and then 750.
Was the additional that we came and asked for to spend.
There was a vote at the end of the year, it came to this committee to increase those revolving funds, both the electrical inspector and the plumbing inspector by $7,500 because of unanticipated
Payments.
payments that they were made. So basically they had more permits than they had anticipated. Nice problem to have.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's the reason they came and asked for the increases to the revolving fund. So,
And that came about, a lot of it because of the school,
right,
because they had to do a lot of inspections and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
exactly.
And the buildings, the
Yeah.
way the
The
buildings are
the
going.
house, the
down.
new houses that are going
Yeah.
up is
Just-
crazy, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't believe it.
And just so you know, Ms. Hansa, for the fiscal year that we're in currently,
Yes.
they planned for the combined number that you see there. So the 17.5 plus 75, they planned for the 25,000 for this fiscal year. They planned for the 20,000 of the plumbing for this fiscal year. They won't, and I was at the select board meeting last night, and my question to development services was, are we gonna be in trouble? Because you say you've already seen more permits again, and she's like, yes, we're gonna be okay. So she's,
Okay.
right now, she
I
thinks
saw
we're
her do
fine
that,
on that,
yes.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I do thank you for bringing that to my attention because I needed to have fixed those and I missed that. but
I'll
I need
make
to
them
add
actually
those
the
to
numbers,
What the
yeah.
number was at the town meeting.
Thank you.
I will take care of that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Anything else, Ms.
Okay,
Hansa?
Okay, so this is just probably okay. I think I probably know the answer, but I want to ask it. Okay.
Exactly.
So these have to do with the OPEB numbers. And I noticed that in both the, let's see, town and water numbers on the cash sheet from last night's Board of Selectmen meeting,
Yes.
that they are, both of those are about 1,000, let's just say, off from the expended numbers on page 13. So that,
Okay, so what this is on, the problem with this, is the investment company, the way we get so when I do the report for you, we may not have the interest
Timing
in
issue.
yet, and it's a timing thing that we
Okay.
have because we only get those statements
that's
quarterly.
what I thought, it was,
Yeah,
but I wanted
yeah.
to ask.
Yeah, but that's what
Okay.
that is.
That is the questions.
Yeah, so you'll see on the cash sheet or
Yes.
the sheet, when it says Bartholomew, that's all what's in the investment funds, and that's always a timing
Right.
because.
I just looked right at you.
The
too.
very,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
very first time I saw this, I'm like, what?
She keeps all
Deb
of
is
that in her
lending us
bag.
money.
How much are we getting from you?
Yeah.
I wish I would be sitting here.
I know.
So those are the ones, and we only get that statement quarterly, and it's just, again, it's a timing thing because
Yes.
they don't necessarily get it to us by the, the third Monday of the month
Right,
or
of
whatever.
course.
So, yeah.
Okay, great.
Anything else, Ms. Hunter?
That's it.
Okay.
Girl.
Anyone else have any other questions with regards to the
Thank
BDA?
you for coming,
You're
clarifying
welcome.
a lot.
You're welcome.
Well
This
done.
is good to take it into
Yeah.
having.
Yeah.
Because I see other communities.
Yeah.
Time to time at the accountant and the administrator come to
Yeah.
the finance committees to take and talk about probably these type of issues. I don't know.
Thank you very much.
welcome.
Will you still be here next week or are you gonna be,
Yes. I
you
will
will still be here next
Yeah, I'll
Thursday?
be here for, well, not next Thursday, I
Okay.
leave Thursday.
Okay,
But I will be here for the town meeting. But if you do have questions for Thursday night, if you guys can look at these and get over this week, and if you have questions, email them to me and I will get you the answers
perfect.
so that you can have those for your meeting on Thursday.
Beautiful. That's perfect. That's perfect. I will put these documents on the agenda for next Thursday.
Yep.
And yeah, exactly. If there's any questions to Ms. Pontbriand, I would just email the advisory committee email and her. This way we all see the questions and then you can respond
Yeah,
right back
I
to
can
the
do that.
advisory committee email. Okay?
I will.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Pontbriand. This has been wonderful. On the
Welcome.
motion to accept the VBA as presented and into the record as read and reviewed, how do you vote, Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
Yes.
Ms. Hansa? Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That vote goes 5-0-0 at 7:50 PM.
Okay.
Thank you
You.
very much.
Have a
We'll
good
see you,
night.
we'll see you next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Okay. Item 8A in discussion, Ms. Hansa, discussing recommending the town and select board that all financial items be separated in future articles on town meeting warrants. The re on this one was Article 1 for this fall special town meeting that we will have next week. And we already kind of spoke about this a little bit in that, I'm gonna pull it back out here just real quick. In that the problem was that when the town drafted this warrant, in this particular article, under buildings and grounds, they put two things together that probably shouldn't have been. They put together the increase in heating costs and they put together the cemetery commission's software subscription costs. So I think that we would like to recommend to the town that they not do that in the future. So let me do this. I move to recommend to the select board and town administrator that in the future, when drafting warrant articles, that all costs be delineated separately in the article, nothing be combined.
Absolutely.
And that is a
Can I-
motion.
Can I add to that?
You can,
Mr.
yeah.
Chairman? That they don't intermingle departments
Yes.
on this also.
And that was gonna be the next thing I come up to is that they do not, that each article,
It's separate.
that each article,
Stands
the
alone.
the department costs be under their own articles. So,
Yep.
for example, if building and grounds has multiple things, that's an article.
The reason I said that is in past years, articles have come up. And as advisory, we have 2 or 3 items. We're okay with a couple of them. One of them, we're not necessarily in a full agreement with it. But we have to take a look at the whole article. So we're forced to take it into voting on the article the way it is.
Unless
If they-
unless you
If
write
they
it
would
up
have
separately.
separated it, and this happens on town floor besides.
Yeah.
People want to take it into
The
dividing.
separate
the
question.
board.
Yeah.
Mr. Graves, did you get that entire thing that I kind of stumbled my tongue over?
Yes.
Okay.
With the addition that I ended up
With
saying,
Mr. Spring's addition.
What was the addition?
Okay, so the addition was that for any departments
Be
with
separated.
the departments, each department uses its own article for any requests to town meeting.
Okay, yeah, that's already.
Okay, good.
Good boy.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Rivard, second by Ms. Bartolomeo. Is there any discussion on said motion? Does that cover your?
I think so, thank you.
Okay, good. Is that, in that case, any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
yes,
Ms. Hansa?
Yes.
Ms. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
I am a yes. 5-0-0 at 7:53 PM. Is there anything further on that you'd like to discuss, Ms. Hansa, or are we good there?
I'm good there.
Okay, in that case, we are on to the discussion portion or the member comments portion of the evening. In alphabetical order, Ms. Bartolomeo.
Not much to say, good meeting. I hope people that watched it come out of here informed, that's all I want.
Thank you. Mr. Kaplos is not with us this evening. Mr. Francis,
No comments.
no comments. Ms. Hanza, no comments. Mr. Spring,
Again, I'll reiterate, Beth said, I think they went very good. I think that the pre-town meeting was probably one of the better ones of having the department heads come and clarify some stuff. I think that we need to end up letting the administrator know that that was a good process and that we should continue that process in the future on any of those articles. And I've talked about our article, and I don't want to bring that up again, but I already said what we needed to do as far as our article. And I think that we need to be at the meeting. It starts at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I did talk to the administrator about that, and he says, well, we can start at 5 o'clock. And I went, no, you don't.
You missed
follow
that.
what I'm saying. You still have people on the road at 6 o'clock that may want to take and come to the
You
meeting.
know, it's just nuts because they,
It's too early.
if they get.
It
them at
used
7
it used to
o'clock,
be,
it's a miracle.
it used to be 7 o'clock.
Stuff on
The
4
last
hours.
administrator and the last moderator changed it to 6.
It's too early.
So, I mean, all we can end up reiterating that to the moderators or whatever, that we need to think and change that time
It's
because
not
it's not.
fair to the people that want to come to a meeting.
Yep.
Simply not fair.
anything else, Mr. Spring?
No, that's it.
Okay. My comments this evening, and I have a couple. So first of all, to echo Mr. Spring, the fall town meeting is Wednesday, November 3rd, next Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the evening in the Narragansett Middle School Auditorium. As we are all voting members of the town, I would recommend we all attend, obviously. We will be sitting at the table in the front of the room. In that town meeting, I will generally be speaking on behalf of the advisory committee. You folks are not under any obligation to say anything if you choose not to. Our recommendation document is provided for a reason. It is for the people to see what we thought as part of the process, and there may be people like me who want to come up and say, ask advisory committee members specifically if they want to provide comment. You are under no obligation to do so. However, if you do choose to do so, that is up to you.
Yeah, and only just to clarify a little
And
bit.
that would be through me. If that question were to come up, I would basically say exactly what I just said, but then I would open the floor and say, if any of my members wish to provide comment at this time, then
Yeah, right. If one of the things that because he's the chairman, if you have comments as advisory that you voted for it one way or the other, and I would expect Mr. Kaplos, since he could speak on his vote, you end up indicating that you are, how you're speaking, you're someone's like, I'll just say mine, Wilfred Spring Advisory Committee, or if I want to take a speak as a citizen, I would end up, I could sit at the table and still do it.
Yeah.
But you can also go up to the microphone.
Yeah. And at that point, if you do that, if you're speaking as a citizen, you would say Matthew Rivard, 270 Gray Road.
No, I've been
Yeah.
there before.
For the new members. For the new members,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So please make plans to attend,
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Bells on.
We do have an advisory committee meeting the following evening. I know we would normally not do this, and there are a few reasons that I do want to do it.
Yeah.
And one of them was that at last night's select board meeting, the countdown to annual town meeting schedule was provided. This has not been approved yet by the select board. It is expected to be approved at their November 10th meeting, which is their next one. However, it's good for us because it allows me to be able to put in place our timelines leading up to that annual town meeting. So some dates that we need to be aware of. On January 1st, 2022, the Capital Improvements Committee has to submit their proposed capital improvements plan. Mr. Lamontagne's calendar has that set for Wednesday, December 22nd at the select board meeting. We had a very good discussion last night, and we would like to actually have that portion of it be a joint meeting between select board and advisory, at which point they provide that plan. And we'll have more discussions on that.
Yeah, because we have to vote on that too.
Yes, so we will have more discussions on that, but we would, there was a very good discussions last night, and that we'd like to hold that as a, we'd like to hold that as a joint meeting. We'd like to have that,
Fine.
we'd like to have the select board and the advisory committee be in joint meeting
They
at that
rock
point and do it.
rock the earth though, you know?
Well, you
Joint
know,
meeting, wow.
sometimes the earth needs to be rocked.
Yeah,
and
getting
We'll see.
time.
Another date to be aware of, Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022, is the date that the TA is going to present the budget and the warrant package. So we're actually going to get the book.
I actually asked him, and I don't know whether he's gonna do it, is at the same time he gets it from the departments, that he put us on copy so that we can start that process earlier and start our review, so that we have I mean, he may change some stuff, but at least we can see what's going on and have some dialogue on it.
So, I've actually, again, last night we discussed having that be a joint meeting as well. The presentation of the book.
Yes.
The presentation of the book. The select board budget workshops will be joint meetings. These are right now scheduled for Wednesday. Hang on, gotta find it. I'm sorry, Saturday, March 12th is the select board budget workshop presentations. And then Wednesday, March 16th is select board budget workshop, school budgets and questions, or school and answers, I should say.
I don't mind read bananas.
Yeah, right.
Planning about-
There are also snow dates for both of those, if God forbid. I mean,
Oh, there you go, Jeffrey. He can't make it
snow
anyway.
dates, yeah, I know. So there are snow dates for those. The budget workshop presentations would snow date to Saturday, March 19th, and then the answers to questions and the school budgets would snow date to Monday, March 21st.
I just hope that,
I hope they don't snow date.
I hope they have it for 2 days, because
They do.
last year what happened was they scheduled it to 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
We were still going at 5:30 and there were still questions that were unanswered.
It is 2 days. It's a Wednesday and a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it is 2 days. So obviously, please make plans for that. That will be a joint meeting of the advisory committee and the select board on both occasions. The select board deadline to transmit the final ATM warrant and budget. The bylaws state that this must be done by April 10th or 35 days prior to the town meeting. In this case, it is the 35 days. That date will be Wednesday, April 6th, 2022.
Hope this winter goes by as fast as this.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Having said that, having said that and having this document in hand, I know it's not approved by the select board yet, but it allows us to make plans.
Yep.
For our pre-town meeting on the warrant.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to approve recommendations on the warrant as well.
Yep.
So I'm going to present those as motions at our next meeting
Sounds
next
fine.
week.
Yeah.
For us to vote and approve the dates.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I wanted to bring that up. Again, this will, you should have received this. I had Mr. Lamontagne forward the document to the advisory committee email address. He did it earlier this morning. So we should have received this. You should have all this in your email. Again, as Mr. Lamontagne has said previously, this is a level funded budget. And he very clearly spoke last night to the department head stating that provide your budgets with the plan to level fund. At the end of the day, it becomes his responsibility to get to the level funding point. But they should be planning to level fund. Having said that, with the advisory committee's budget, I also intend to level fund. I am not going to ask for a dime more than we're getting, which is the 52,500 that's currently listed. I'm going to ask for the same amount, and just to, if he's asking for level funding, that's what I'm going to give
Yeah,
him.
but the only trouble is, if some department has a real problem,
Mhm.
there is nowhere for them to go except the reserve fund.
And what I'm
Real emergency.
going to say to Mr. Lamontagne
Not a lot of
is
money in there.
that once he goes through the budget process, if he is level funded and there's money that he can put into the
Yeah, it'd be smart to
emergency
do that.
reserve fund above and beyond what I'm going to ask for, I'm going to suggest that he do it.
Yeah, because
When we have that discussion, I will bring up some things that I
Yep.
think that we can, even staying within our budget,
Mhm.
to end up doing some things.
Yep.
I'm gonna just leave it there. That's what a later meeting.
Exactly. So I wanted to bring those notes up to you folks, just, again, it's a few months out, but I want you to have those in your ears and kind of just so you can begin planning.
Good job.
So I wanted to, because I know that the budget season is
Yep.
hectic, and I wanted you all to be able to plan in advance as much as possible so that we could.
I can't go to Hawaii.
You can go to Hawaii, just don't go, or plan to zoom in. If you plan to zoom in, have it with palm trees swaying behind you, please.
Big pile of yellow pineapples.
Make us all feel good.
Right?
All right, and I think in my case, that is it. So if there is nothing else from anyone on the committee, I will entertain a motion to adjourn until November 4th, 2021 at 6:30 PM for a regular business meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Spring and a second by Ms. Bartolomeo to adjourn until Thursday, November 4th, 2021 at 6:30 PM for a regular business meeting. Is there any discussion?
No, I-
Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Spring?
Yes.
Ms. Panza, Ms. Bartolomeo,
Yep.
and I am a yes, that motion passes.